Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Your Little Castle Show. We've asked Tim to stick around for a second show because we want to talk a little more in depth. He's got kind of an big announcement to make too. A new partnership he's established here. It's really going to help better take care of the businesses or the homeowners here in St. Louis, as merging together a little bit of the work you do. I'll let you explain it to everybody here. But first off, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. A lot of people are familiar with Carroll House Furniture. I had finally just taken the time to write a review for Carroll House. And then they brought up our review in his meeting. Brooke and I are friends, and so he used that and talked about it. Apparently he brought it up. But that's kind of neat because they do such a great job. We got Airbnb, they got us financing, they got us everything on a great deal. And we've gotten these 22 5-star reviews now. A lot to do with the fact that we've got dynamite beds and great furniture. That's really what else is there inside of a house besides that? And we got it all from Carroll House Furniture. So we give them a shout out because you like nice things in your little castle. So we put that up there on the wall for everybody, and I'll even share it with you all there. Take a look there. Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things in your little castle. All right, with that, let's jump back in here. We have a lot to cover because Tim's going to share with us a lot of great information. This is the first time we've done this on our show, Tim, by the way.
Okay.
So I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do that. But we'll put up on the wall here for everybody. We've got your current website and Facebook pages, and let's jump into it. Tell us a little bit about what the excitement is you've got going on.
Well, I've got exciting news. I've decided to make a little bit of a new venture here with a large company. It is, let me pull out my phone here just so I don't want to mess this up.
Tim's not a paid actor.
I'm not a paid actor.
We all take notes. There's no cue cards off the side of the set.
So the big news is Apex Roofing is coming to town. They're a large company. They are the 7th largest residential roofer in the United States, according to Roofers Contractor magazine.
Okay.
So they have 25 offices across the country, 9 states, including Missouri and Illinois, and they've decided to make St. Louis one of their new homes.
Right, and so you're going to be the guy.
I'm going to be the face of St. Louis, and Riverside's still going to be here. We're going to take care of all the siding and fascia and all the inside stuff, and still all the fire and water issues. But as far as the roof and the gutters, like I said, they're the number 7 in the country, and they're the largest certified fortified installer in the United States.
Okay.
And they're just a great company to work for. They have the backing that the St. Louis area needs, and it's just going to be a great opportunity for myself, for the St. Louis area, and all the homeowners around.
Makes a great partnership. And you can see the roof there. Congratulations.
Yeah,
there,
I'm proud.
Okay, well, let's jump in here and talk a little bit about that. And we talked a lot about the initial what happens when you have a storm come through, how do you get that taken care of, how you make sure you have an expert to help you with that. And then we get into now the kind of the nitty gritty about what goes in behind the scenes when you need a repair, whether that's done on your own, if you're just going to pay for it, or if it's something that's been caused by damage and you've got to get it fixed, because nobody's going to leave a house damaged for very long. You end up with the problems. But let's talk about it. The first thing I'd like to jump into a little bit here is how has technology changed? You've been doing this for a long time. Tell me how technology has made a difference in the way this is done. Xactimate, the software you talked about. What
exactly.
else?
The software has come leaps and bounds. Everybody is kind of on the same page now when it comes to estimating, which really helps out. And like I kind of talked a little bit before, a synthetic felt compared to the old tar paper.
Gotcha.
Just the components that goes into roofing now. I had spoke a little bit here on the fortified roofing.
Okay.
That's a whole new system of roofing that just makes your roof completely waterproof.
Wow.
And leak proof. It's a new system that we're really proud of, and we're bringing to St. Louis. It's something that your insurance company is going to be super excited to hear about.
Okay.
You get great benefits, great insurance savings because of it.
Okay.
It's going to be a really nice thing to have.
Okay. Well, there you go, everybody. We're talking about how the technology has already impacted, and it takes with regard not just electrons flying across over the interwebs, but when you're talking about how they've made innovations with regard to new materials. Synthetic, they talk about how often, and my dad, for years, we would debate whether or not to use regular oil or synthetic oil. But synthetic oil lasts so much longer.
Correct.
And it's just a matter of the way it's engineered, similar to what you're going to get with your roofing materials, too, I guess, here, too.
Right. The old tar paper, if you've ever seen somebody getting a new roof, that old tar paper, when they're taking it off, it just tears into little flakes and it's gone. It disintegrates.
Right, okay.
Now we have this synthetic tar paper. It's a felt that goes down. It's almost like putting a tarp down on your roof before we put shingles down.
Wow.
Once that's down, your roof is somewhat waterproof
Right.
before you even put the shingles down. So your shingles are just an extra barrier.
Okay. Yeah, the shingles will take the damage because you get that thin layer that is actually
The waterproof.
resist any kind of water. You're not going to be able to pour anything through there. It's not porous at all.
Correct.
It's like plastic.
It's breathable,
Okay.
but it's not water permeable.
Okay. Water molecules, and we talked about the size of molecules and the way they flow. As I get techie with a little bit of my fun I had in high school chemistry.
Right.
But you understand, some molecules are larger. They can't get through certain porous, even though it's still porous to let other things through. That makes sense.
Correct.
All right. Well, and tell me that you've been doing this for a long time. Give me an example of a time when you really helped somebody, a particular situation. You can tell me a little bit about. They were in a tough place, but you came through and helped them.
Yeah, a lot of times I've worked all over the country before. I've been out on hurricanes. The last one I worked was out in North Carolina, 2018. I had a lady, had a tree right down the middle of her house. Nobody would help her. We went out there, we got her all tarped up, got her all taken care of, got her into a hotel room. Just doing things like that and being able to take care of customers, it just makes you feel so much better about what you're doing and helping out. And it's something that makes you feel good about yourself.
Tell me, then, why was there any particular resistance from people? Because when it was such damage, they were just like, "This is a big mess. It's going to take us a lot longer to do this job. Therefore, not going to make as much money."
What
was the situation there?
It was like that, and a lot of people don't want to deal with certain insurance companies. As soon as they heard the certain insurance company, they were dreadful of what that insurance company had been supposedly paying out in the area, and that's something that you just have to deal with sometimes. You just go and you help out the customer, and you hope that it works out in the best interest for everybody at the end.
Yeah, do the job the best way you can, no matter what, and then things will, maybe you don't win them all, but you'll still get somebody in. And then you got a good, and see a bunch of Tim's reviews he's got out there. A lot of people really do like the work, but that's because you're doing the right job, right thing all the time, right?
It seems to work out.
That's the best strategy for life, I believe. I'm with you on that. Well, tell me the process. Somebody says, "Tim, I've had some damage. I heard you're very reputable." They look you up. They find you. What, is they just going to call you on your phone? Look you up, send you an email? What's the best way for somebody to get started with you?
They can do either or. They can send an email, they can send a text message, they can call, whatever's easiest for them. They can go on Facebook. We're easily available any way they want to call, text, send a message. We'll come out anytime. If there's a leak, we'll come out and tarp it up for them.
Okay.
We're happy to come out and help any way we can.
Sure. So then walk me through a little bit of that process when somebody does have the issue and they've got a big, like years ago, I found somebody else's chimney in my front yard. It was very obvious. Everybody knew about the storm. It was pretty dreadful storm. Well, you got to know who to call, right? So then once they've made that call to you, what are the next steps for them?
Right. I come out, I'll inspect the property, make sure there's enough damage, because sometimes even though a big storm comes through, a lot of wind and small hail won't necessarily damage the home enough to make a claim. So I'll come out and I'll assess the property first, and once I do see that there's enough damage, that's when I'll walk you through the process of calling the insurance company, making a claim, and at that point, I will be your liaison with the insurance company. I'll actually come out and meet with the adjusters and go step by step with you to the final product.
The two keynotes are: one, don't let them examine the house without you being there.
Correct.
Right? And then sometimes there's not enough damage. You don't want to call in a claim, because once you've made a claim, they just still register the fact that you're calling in. That could have some effect on your rates and just how they evaluate you as a customer.
Absolutely. Make sure that you have enough damage before making a claim. It's free. Most good companies will not charge you to come out and take a look at it. And if they're a reputable company, they're not going to call and make a claim unless there's enough damage to actually warrant calling the insurance company to come out.
Tell me a little bit about that inspection process. Is this something you can just get on part of the roof and you know what the damage is, or do you need to examine the whole roof? How do you go about making sure that there is enough there that can be warrant a claim?
That really depends on the storm. There are certain storms where I can get up and just barely look at the roof and go, "Oh yeah, we need to call your insurance company."
Okay.
But then there are smaller storms that come through that I do have to take a little bit closer inspection of the roof and look at the entire roof to get a full view of it to make sure that there's enough damage.
And something else that people get into are drones. And of any use to this? How often do drones help you to get in there and examine? You can fly those above, but you still need to get up there on the roof and look at it closer. What's your...
Again, that also comes into play with the severity of the storm. If it's a smaller storm, it's harder to see that damage. Sometimes you're going to need to get a little bit hands-on.
Right. Okay. So this is not another one of the, not an example of something where a drone can do very well, but it can't, unless it gets right on top of it, and even then you can't see inside of that, because you have to sometimes.
Sometimes you need to feel what the damage is, because what hail damage actually is to a shingle is it's a broken matting inside that shingle. Inside every shingle is a fiberglass matting, and every insurance company is going to want to feel broken matting.
Okay.
And it's just like the outside of an apple. You'll feel the little bruise on it, little soft spot. Same thing you'll feel on a shingle when it has hail damage.
Okay, so it's not just as easy as looking at these things. Unless the damage is really bad, and then you can tell. But if it's got some bruising, they say, and fiberglass, there's a lot of we're learning here, everybody, to make sure that you get this done appropriately. Yes. Well, then tell me, what is one big challenge that you've had to overcome with regard to your business, or something? Obviously, you've made it, you're doing well. But is there any particular challenge you remember that helped you learn a little bit and grow with your business back as you look back on your many years of doing this?
The biggest challenge has been just the whole letting people know that you're not going to be singled out for making a claim and have your rates go up just because you made a claim yourself, and to and for them to understand that everyone's rates in your area are going to go up whether you make a claim or not. So you might as well get on the bandwagon and get in line and get your claim filed.
Yeah, and this is something that's, it's a matter of when you have damage, it didn't just happen the one house. Everybody there's making claims.
Correct.
Unless that was you're very unlikely insurance company, you're their only client in that area. So then they're going to say, oh yeah. And they say, if you look at your paperwork, you say, hey, wait a minute, our rates went up. We didn't claim anything. But your neighbors did.
Exactly.
That's what's going to have the impact. You need to make sure you address that.
Exactly.
Okay.
You'll even see sometimes there'll be a hurricane in Florida, and the rates in Missouri will go up just a minute amount.
Got to absorb some of those costs.
They're going to get you one way or the other.
Insurance companies aren't in this to lose money, are
Correct.
They? They typically do not do that, and they want to make sure. And so we all share that cost. So people have made the argument. How often do you hear this debate? Stop living next to where all these hurricanes hit. We got to make these people move away from those, because we're going through there every 2 or 3 years and building everything over again.
It'll find somewhere else. You're going to move somewhere else they're going to have other natural disasters, and it's just going to be another claim for something else.
Okay. A little bit less of that to deal with. Is the cost of living quite a bit less here in the St. Louis area, the Midwest, as opposed to when you're rebuilding some of these things? And overall, I mean, your houses this size that we have from normal houses in Missouri are 2 and 3 times more expensive out on the West Coast, East Coast. And
they are. The cost of living, the cost of a roof in St. Louis compared to Denver is much cheaper.
Really?
Denver prices for a roof are higher than St. Louis prices, and same goes for a Florida roof. Prices for a roof in Florida are much higher than prices in St. Louis.
Okay.
It's just it's relative to where you're at.
Okay. And as you go into labor rates, cost of materials, what it takes to get the materials there where they're made. If they're made in Missouri, then it can save you a little money.
Absolutely.
Okay. Those are good things to keep in mind when you're going through this a little bit, because that's why you need experts like our buddy Tim here, because I don't know where these things are made and who's got the best cost. But either way, businesses, they're going to make their money to produce what they have to produce. You want to make sure you get the best quality stuff you can.
Right.
Best companies will put
and the insurance companies know with the Xactimate, they know what the going rates are per zip code. That's the great thing with Xactimate. That's what puts it where almost any contractor can work with the insurance company's estimates and still get the homeowner's work done off of the insurance company's scope of work.
Okay. Again, back into the category for experts. We're putting a hat on for that one, everybody. If you don't have an expert, do it. I'll tell you the truth. When I made the claim I did 2013, I knew the guy who was a friend of mine, but he didn't come out. He wasn't particular to look at it. And I know now, like I said, I'll never forget this. The guy was like, don't look over here, look over here. And he's saying, oh, this pole? Yeah, you got this pole? We're going to replace that, because that cost him $1,500 versus, but I don't look at this siding. I keep going back to the siding. Look at all this siding that what should have been replaced. Things that had actual gashes in it. You can see little chips in And that's the part of what goes on there. You don't want to take these on and try
Right.
to represent yourself, as we talked about.
Right, and that's where you want a professional there to make sure that everything's covered, everything's taken care of. You're not just getting repairs when it should be a replacement.
Okay. And what big advantage do you think you provide by having this relationship with Apex? How does that tie in here?
Apex is just going to bring a top-notch quality of materials and installers. It's just going to make everything go so much smoother. They bring the backing of a number 7 largest company in the nation. That brings a lot to the table.
Yeah, there's not anything you're going to have to really worry about too much with regard to. They have the financial means. Are they going to be in business 3 years from now to fix this? If there was another something that had to be followed up on, it makes it easier for everybody. And they've been around for a long time too.
Absolutely. With a company that's been around for 14 years, it's debt-free, doesn't owe anybody anything. You don't have to worry about, are they going to shutter their doors in 5 years, and is my warranty still going to be good? Well, absolutely, it's going to be good because they're still here.
So help me out to explain this to our guests here who might be watching and be interested in this. Apex, long time they've been around. But at the same time, you're bringing the local guy yourself who's going to be doing this. This isn't, Apex isn't a company coming in here with the, what do they call it, the trailer tail light warranty they talk about from the guys. And those are usually your small little guys, and they go into where they know there's been some damage,
Right.
and they drive in from 3, 5, 10 hours away. Storm chasers, they call them, right?
Correct.
And then they say, hey, we're going to just, Apex is already there. They've got a representative almost everywhere, and you're going to be the one representing them here in St. Louis.
Absolutely. What it is Apex is a large company, and they're reaching out, and they're wanting to plant roots here in St. Louis, and this is going to be their next office. This is not just a storm chasing thing. This is their next venture. They want to be here for the long haul, and that's why they've reached out to me, someone that's been here their entire life, and that's why they want someone like me to represent them and to start this and to give them a good head start.
Okay. Well, I think that will add a little comfort for everybody, because it is very often, and how often, I love my small local business guys. Obviously do a great job. You're kind of getting the best of both worlds in your case, because you are the small local guy, but you've teamed up with a big guy to help make sure that everything is still there when everybody really needs them.
On the up and up. Everything's going to be, you got that hometown values with the big market, backing. It's going to have the best of both worlds.
Well, there you go, and that's something I think is key, because there's so often, and this has happened to me. I had some work done by somebody, and then I call back, and they're not in business anymore.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that in this particular case.
Absolutely not.
Somebody like that, you're getting a local guy who's been born and raised in St. Louis. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you can also then hangs out on the Mississippi River too. By the way, everybody, guys, check that out.
When I can.
The Lake of the Ozarks is fun too. But take a couple of weekends to go out on the Mississippi here in St. Louis. Well, tell me, is there a particular quote in your mind that's something you kind of live by that has kind of helped you develop your strategy or your way you kind of handle business?
I just treat everybody else how you want to be treated. I really do believe that that's the best way to live your life, and just be good to everybody.
Very key right there. Now we're breaking out the pencil again, everybody. If you imagine, and I have to say this to people periodically, because I do some counseling for some youth and some adults, and I have to say, imagine the tables were turned and you were in a situation. This is being done to you. Is this how you would want it to be? No, you wouldn't. Oh, I would hate this. It'd be terrible. Then don't ever put somebody else in that kind of situation.
Absolutely.
And such is true in business as well. And as people like yourself that have been in business for so long, obviously a good strategy. It works.
Yeah. I treat every home as if it was my home. How would I want this to go if this was my home and this was something happening to me?
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, tell me what is the biggest objection? We might have hit this a little bit. But I want to make sure they're clear. When they've got some damage, they know that there's some work that needs to be done. But what is the thing that always is it come down to price, or does it come down to making that claim?
It's
what
that claim.
always hits them and they go, I got to think about this, and why should they not?
It's always that claim. They're always worried about making that claim. They're always worried it's either A, they're going to ruin their rates, or B, their insurance company is going to drop them for making a claim. So first, the rates, they are going to go up. I can promise you.
Okay.
And it's not just because they made the claim, but your rates are going to go up because if I came to your house, that means there's damage in your area, and there's most likely your rates are going to go up.
Regardless.
But the other part of it, they're not going to drop you because it's an act of God. When a storm comes, there's no way for you to pick your house up and move it out of the way of that storm. There's nothing you did to be negligent to make that storm happen. So therefore, you're most likely, unless you've made 5 hail claims in the last 2 years, they're really not going to drop you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So don't, and I've heard the mistake been made before, oh, I'm not going to make the claim, and then they come back later and say another storm comes through and they're going, sorry, that happened as a result from a previous storm, not covered.
Correct.
Big mistake.
Yes.
People make when they do that. All right, well then, as a matter of going through all, what do you feel like your company does most to contribute to the community? Is it a matter of you really help business or homeowners realize that they've got a beautiful house, they got to get it back to that same way it was before? What do you think in the community that really helps?
Well, a lot of it with keeping homes from leaking, the health issues that I've helped people from having, I believe that's a huge thing.
Okay.
I mean, mold is a
Okay.
huge factor right now. Think of all the people that have breathing issues and everything else. If your home has a leaky roof, the worst thing that you're going to have mold, you're going to have issues. Nobody wants that. If I can come in and I can help you before that happens, that'd be the best case scenario.
And then back to this relationship you've got now with Apex. That's pretty exciting now because they're going to specialize in either the roof and the gutters you talked about specifically.
Correct.
But there's still a lot more that goes into the house. And so then for all the rest of it, which they obviously is not their specialty, not their focus, not what they do, you can help them with the soffit, the fascia, the siding, and then in terms of then restoration, because if you had any water damage and you need some supports, some framing, your wall board. I've done a little bit of this work, everybody, at some time in my house. Not to say I'm an expert, but I know a little bit about this. Boy, when you start getting into electrical work, you can help them with all of that then.
All of that stuff will go through Riverside still. All that's going to be covered through Riverside. All the restorations, any water, fire, any kind of flood, any of that kind of restorations will still be covered by Riverside. But the roof and the gutter work, that's all going to be Apex. That's what they're guaranteeing, and that's what they're specializing in.
Okay. Well, tell me that. I'm excited for you for this relationship you've got with Apex. How did this come about? I could ask you, and then obviously they're probably looking for somebody to expand with, and they said, find me somebody who's an expert in St. Louis, and your name came up.
Well, I know a lot of people in this business, and one of my really good friends, Kirk Whitty, he lives down in Florida, and he and I have been talking, and he came up here to help them out and kind of scout out the area. He came to me and kind of told me their idea, and we came up with this merger dream, and here we are.
That's pretty exciting. I can imagine, but they had to have a lot of people. When they narrowed it down and picked you, that's pretty extraordinary, because I did a quick search the other day, and I think there's over 700 just listed on the BBB businesses that are in the roofing industry. So when they're picking somebody that's an expert and they narrowed it down to you, what is it you think is about you that got their attention, that they decided to choose you?
I think it was just my ability to connect with the customers, knowing the market as well as I do, and just being the hometown person that I am, and just being here as long as I have been.
Okay. Well, you've got it covered all the way down to the siding, the wood, the flooring if necessary.
Yes, sir.
Electrical, interior, plumbing. I mean, imagine every bit of that with the restoration side of it. And so with that, give a quick glance here, everybody, again, if you would. Take a look. If you see Tim's Facebook page, you see he's got a good-looking logo there. We pulled it up and put it on our screen because it shows up nicely. But take a look. Here is his Facebook page. Go to facebook.com and just do a search. Riverside Restorations. Phone number, everything there in order. And you can get Tim's direct email, too, if you need to. Get a hold of him there. And obviously, almost every business has a great-looking website, and you've done a good job here. That logo stands out again there. But explore the best solutions from Riverside Restorations. And been in business for now for over 12 years. Somebody who's got the expertise and the history you've got. Do you see yourself ever doing anything else? Obviously, where are you at in your career? Is this something you feel like this might be something you do the rest of your life?
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever retire. I enjoy it too much. Yeah, I think I'll work until I die. It's just something I do.
Well, and as an advocate for somebody who says, do what you love and the money will come, I was another one of the quotes my dad gave me from many years ago. My dad's up in the big baseball stadium in the sky. Dad, I've got a new ring here for you, everybody. We've got our new If I can put that up for everybody, let's see if you can see that one. We got another new ring from one of our sponsors. Look this up there. This is the Yadier Molina ring. But the point is, it set the expectations high, shoot for the stars, and then keep chasing it all the time. And then along those lines, my mom now, obviously she's on her own, but she keeps working, and she's worked at her job. She still works part-time as a drama teacher that a lot of people are familiar with. And at Afton High School, you can see we got a picture of her up on stage up there with John Goodman. When they came in, they named the Afton Auditorium the Judith E. Rethwish Auditorium. And one of the jokes my dad told me was some kid came up to her and said, "Why would anybody ever name an auditorium after you?" That was because she had done so much. My dad said, "That's why you're not supposed to be around anymore before they name a building after you." But to your point, if it's something you really enjoy, something you've obviously something that makes you feel good about what you're doing to contribute, then you might be something you want to keep. Because we've talked to Mom about
work anymore.
Yeah, it's not work anymore. I like that point. And what happens when you stop working? That's when people tend to fade away.
You stop moving, you stop living.
And that's something we don't want to see. Well, stay tuned for more, everybody. We've got a 1 minute left here, but we want to make sure when you are looking for your house to be covered because you've had damage, make sure you get it covered and fixed properly. Because how often have you seen somebody try to halfway do it themselves or hire their brother-in-law? What are they sacrificing by doing that?
Oh, far too often. Do it right the first time, because it's going to cost you a lot more to have it all torn back off and redone the second time.
Yeah, so you end up, if you're trying to save money, if you will, then you're gonna cost yourself more because you've got to tear down the work that was not done properly, and now you've got to implement something else, and you got to put all it together as if the job was starting over from scratch anyway.
Absolutely, probably cost you double.
Yeah. How often have you seen this happen?
Oh, more times than I want to admit. It's terrible how many times, oh, my dad can do that or my brother can do that comes up, and it ends up being terrible.
And so you end up tearing it all out and then putting it all back together.
Yes, sir.
What happens with regard to the insurance side of that? The insurance, they're saying, sorry, here's what we'll cover. You're outside of that. Now you're on your own. They might have to pick up a lot of the tab themselves.
Most time it comes out of the homeowner's pocket.
Wow.
The insurance company has already paid for the first initial bad install that shouldn't have been done in the first place. And now it's on the homeowner to have all that bad stuff taken off and have someone come in and professionally do it right the second time.
And this is why they divide up. You get one check up front and the second check later, and it helps them to make sure they're not paying for things 2 and 3 times.
That's why they do that. And that's also the way the insurance company does it, to make sure you're paying your deductible and to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. They're not silly. They're not stupid anymore. They know how to work it. They're going to give you a little bit up front, and then they're going to take your deductible out of that. And then if you do the work, and when you do the work, they'll pay you the rest at that point.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for more. You're enjoying the Your Little Castle show. Giddy up.